and Calhoun and Chickasaw counties. This line that we're looking at here. There has been from time to time some pretty impressive rotation on some parts of this line, especially when we look back here at the section that moved south of Winona through Carroll County in particular. What we're looking at there. Still watching things as it continues to kind of work toward the east. Speed on this at about 45 to 50 miles per hour from time to time. At this instant here, just you can see a ton of lightning. Go back to the wind mode on this. We briefly have had this prompt tornado warning for locations back out in Carroll County and Montgomery County there in the last 10, 15 minutes or so. And then south of Kilmichael in particular, where we're watching it still at this time, but again, it's fairly broad at this moment here. They're tracking along 407. So here's our kind of our loop. Honestly, more than anything else, it's been a straight line wind, but there's this point here when it was near Carrollton, we kind of have that S that we often talk about. I'll get all the lightning strikes off. It's kind of hard to see through the lightning strikes. We kind of have that S sort of shape there. And so that was about the time where we had some of the stronger rotation right there south of, not to go directionally crazy on this, but south of North Carrollton as it works its way there. And so right around Mississippi Highway 35, as it kind of tracked there south of Winona when it was the strongest for a brief moment. So let's, again, I know it's kind of late as we're looking, or early, depending on your perspective here. Some folks wanting to know whether or not they could go back to sleep, because I know some people also use this kind of like their own tornado alarm here. Yeah, Pontotoc can go to sleep at this instant, can go back to sleep. We're just really largely just watching this one storm. In saying that, there's still some strong gusty winds on the back side of this. Because here's where our MCV, I'm going to bring our meteorologist Gabe Maynor over here for a second. We kind of have this MCV up here around Oxford, right?
Yes.
And note, we also have fairly strong winds being depicted there. Let's pull up M.Cam on 3 in Oxford. My thought is this could be developing one of those wake lows. I almost never catch those, and might not catch this time, but I would say that's the only thing that that could be. I think that enhancement there could be one of those wake lows in development. Let's go ahead and again track all this. Okay, so the storm's down south. We'll double check the speed on this, see if we've slowed down any. And then we'll double check the speed up north. We'll get track on the south end first, and we'll get track on the north end. So I would say, as far as going to sleep, that's the one thing I'm watching there for you up in Pontotoc. Tornado potential, not going to happen. But there will be some gusty winds on the backside of this for you. Yeah, we're down to 45 miles per hour on the latest here. So let's track that part there, French Camp, eventually potentially toward, say, Louisville. Let's see if we've got that angle right. Yeah, it's pretty close. There we are. So this is the strongest portion of this line. And so we're tracking that there. Stewart at 357, Huntsville 359, Pelez at 401, French Camp 407, Ware at 415, Ackerman 418, looking at Octok at 446, Crawford at 459, and Brooksville at 459 as well. I think you got that. Was that my thumbs up that you got it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's Highway 7 looking north.
Okay, Highway 7 looking north. Yeah, that's bouncing around quite a bit. Yeah, we'll probably have one of those wake lows developing on this as well. What that is and why that's important is basically as the evaporation kind of happens on the backside of this. Why it's important is the evaporation kind of happens on the backside of this. The overall, you can get what's called a wake low, and essentially that the rain basically it kicks up the winds. I'm trying to think of the most basic way to say it possible, and basically it just kicks up the winds, and so we end up getting some strong wind gusts on the backside, and so that's probably what is happening on this up toward the Oxford area. So let's track kind of the main cluster here that's been ongoing for hours. and the majority of this still has kind of a southeastern angle to it. I'm gonna look a little closer at that Houston storm here in a moment. Okay, so there's kind of your storm track as it kind of moves southeast. So if you're behind this, Bruce, Coffeyville, Grenada, Winona, we go sleep. We're in good shape. Water Valley, Oxford. If you do have some, what's what I'm looking for? Weather pictures, things like that you want to share. WeatherWTVA.com probably is the best way to get those in to us, and we will kind of check for those pictures here in just a
Yes,
second.
I've been scouring social media. There's nothing that confirms anything that has happened.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so there's a warning storm, but not a confirmed storm, as of where we're saying.
Okay, so that's a good sign there. Um, Give me a moment. I'm going through and just double checking some things. Now, I'm not seeing a whole lot at the moment here.
This will hold up a little bit.
Say again, what?
Is that all good to go?
I think so. I think we're okay. I think that's all up and ready to go. Okay, so let's come in here and look north to south on this line. And basically, we're just kind of looking, do we have any little areas of spin in the line itself? There are enhancements here that are probably extra wind as well. But I don't show, let's just kind of look here. That's Slate Springs. Still fairly broad. Same thing, kind of look there. Let's look closer at Kilmichael. Those are some rumble bumblers. I don't have, I would say, a clearly defined area of circulation at this time, really on any part of that line there. Yeah. Hold on 2 seconds here, just for a quick second. Just think about it. Okay.
Is he?
Okay. Okay, so who can go to sleep? I see Amanda with that question there. That's kind of a good question. So let's go north on this for just a brief second here. You see this curl up here around Oxford? If this is what we think this is, the green we see kind of on the back side of this is likely going to be some strong winds from what could potentially be a wake low forming. Gabe was looking at a second ago. I'm gonna pull up another. Let's track that portion before, and then we'll double check to see if it is what we think it is. So we're looking at that kind of. I think I might still be fast on the 50 miles per hour that I'm using for everything else. We'll say on the front end here, this is what this is. This is not going to be a tornado, right? This is going to be strong gusty winds like we had a couple weeks ago, where we had just a shield of rainfall and there's some rumble bumbles, but then you just had some gusty winds that caused some sporadic wind damage. I can't remember the exact date. Anyway, that's what this is right here. Is the strong gusty winds from that. This is not a tornado that I'm tracking up there. Okay, this would just be some strong gusty winds as it moved through. Okay, all clear here in Winona. Good, Brittany. Nice to hear that is the case. That things are going well there. Elliot, clear. Good to hear that as well. So I appreciate your all's reports. Certainly, it's very helpful in this case. So let's talk about, as far as any potential for additional rotations or tornado warnings are concerned, That's what we're basing the all clear off of. There will be the potential from wind damage from what you have up there near Oxford, west of Pontotoc, right? This portion here, as that moves this way, that's going to still cause some wind damage. So if we're talking go to sleep for tornado potential, all of these locations are okay to go to sleep. Put that here. And then I'm going to circle this.
May 7th is the event you're taking.
May 7th. Okay, thank you. God, in my brain, it was more recent. It was less recent than that. That's only been 11 days ago. There's my asterisk, by the way. That is that wake low from May 7th that Gabe was mentioning. On May 7th, we had one of those kind of come through. And so that is not going to be a tornado, but that will be some strong straight line winds as that kind of works its way west to east. So you see the circle, that's the asterisk, okay? Outside of the asterisk, so if you quote me and get some damage, you're like, I thought you said, that's my asterisk on that right there, okay? So I'm going to clear that off. Other than that, as far as tornadoes are concerned, no tornadoes in this zone going forward, okay? So that's where we're in the go to sleep areas there. Now, ahead of that, that's what we are trying to tackle here and get our heads wrapped around. Current time is just after 4 a.m., now 4:03 a.m. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon alongside our meteorologist Gabe Maynor here. Some strong straight line winds, and watching up here closer to Tabville and the Anchor community. Yeah, south of 15, still some broad rotation, nothing that's overly strong there. And then what was previously a lot stronger right about there when it was south of Winona. And looking at our various radars, I'll just double check to make sure we didn't have some kind of brief debris signature on that earlier. Let me make sure I'm on the most sensitive version here. And just because I can't confirm debris because we're too far away doesn't mean that we didn't necessarily have something on this earlier. For the briefest of moments near 35, especially as far away from the radar site as that is, it wouldn't be inconceivable for this to have been something. Hence the reason the National Weather Service issued a warning on it.
It's also in the dead spot between Weirdo and Side.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, no. It's just the wrong spot away from both sides. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of Carroll County tomorrow. But here we are, French Camp, the northwest of Ackerman there. Check in with James of North Mississippi Storm Chasers. I don't see a whole lot of information coming in there. Y'all are our kind of our heartbeat of information at this moment. Yeah, one of the problems with public shelters, if there's not a tornado watch, a lot of times they're not open in this case. I appreciate all y'all for watching. Give me a second here as I use your information. I'm gonna put a track on this. Again, 50 miles per hour, Stuart, the French camp. I'm gonna have to actually pull it back a little bit. Give me just a moment to adjust it. Don't go with the initial time. I'm gonna fix it here. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna go back through kind of what you're seeing here a moment ago. Coming down 389. I think that's up north of this. Okay, just moments. I'm just kind of going back through what you guys are saying here. Hope he woke you up in the storm. I get that. So French camp, you can see there, French camp. Definitely going to be some rotation with this. I don't know that we're going to uh, take much more than that. And I would say this. I should have said this before we sent everybody back to sleep. If you've got where's the Lake Wicklow Pass? We'll look at that here in a second.
So I do have something to say about the Wicklow.
Go ahead.
So looking at wind returns, especially from GWX, I know it's very high up, but it's showing 80-mile-an-hour returns way high up in the atmosphere from that Wicklow. And then from out of Memphis, it was 45 to 50.
So Memphis is picking it up too on that.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's definitely increased, and it's definitely broadened in regards to the areas that's being impacted. It's all the way down to like Union and Tippah County. So it's going to be a pretty significant portion.
Yeah, I mean you can see this curl up here. That's what he's talking about. I'm gonna spend more time on that in a minute. I want to investigate a couple little the fact that this has gone S-shaped on me again here. That's always a little bit of a concern. Your Pelez there. Yeah, go ahead. Huh?
Paul.
Oh,
Michael.
no, that's.
Okay.
I mean, he's on his way.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's on his way. I have not changed that. Uh, okay, I'm gonna pull up a different radar here. It's gonna seem ridiculous. I'm gonna do it on my phone. I'm gonna pull up a different radar on my phone for a moment, just to double check to make sure it is not seeing something different than what Storm Track Doppler radar is. So give me just a moment to get that pulled up.
I'm gonna pull up a Starlink camera.
Why don't you trade me places here for just a second, Gabe?
Okay.
While I do this.
Yeah, so again, we're tracking that S shape that's kind of moving through through parts of Choctaw County right now. We're talking about just north of French Camp along 415 and 9. Ackerman, I would say that you're going to be the area that this rotation is going to be seen going through, possibly even going a bit more north. But let's just go ahead and look at that rotation. Again, still on the broader side right now, but whenever you're getting some of these brighter returns right there, it just shows you that it is still a strong system. It's going to have some gusty winds. Um, there's already a special weather statement out about it, talking about the significance of it, but definitely watching those wind gusts, and you can see how tightly or how quickly they get tightened, and that's why we got that warning earlier, prompting it. Very brief rotation, but definitely some strong rotation with that. As it's transitioned more east, haven't seen that same return, but you're still getting a high lightning output, meaning this is still a mature storm that's moving through Choctaw County as we speak. So several rumbles of thunder going to be expected with that. And I want to make sure those winds, I mean, you're really going to be seeing your rotation usually on this interior part whenever that S happens. So that's kind of where we're looking for that rotation to take place. Whenever it's back behind, like what I was talking about earlier with those stronger wind gusts being returned, then that's usually just going to be the formation of a wake low or just some breezy winds on the backside of this storm. So again, the highest wind returns we're seeing right now, not in that S shape, and that is a good thing. But with that getting that S shape, it's definitely something to still keep an eye on. We're talking Tom Nolan Road and Chester Mills Road going over the top of you guys right now and inching closer and closer to Highway 9 there in Ackerman. So let's go ahead and do a storm track on that. Have we updated the speed on this, Matt?
I'm going 50. Last I saw it, that might be a little fast.
Okay, I'm going to track this. Give me a moment. I think we can go down to 40 over the last 30 minutes. So we're going to do, not 30, there we go, 40. One more storm track on this as it's getting closer and closer to Ackerman. And the speeds have kind of varied on this just because there's not really something pushing it along. And so you'll get speeds that are as low as 30 to 40 or as high as 50 to 60. We've seen both of those within this complex. So let's go ahead and draw that out with that rotation and with that area that we're watching the most, and especially right here along this notch. Extending that out as it moves, just make sure the direction's right. Yeah, I would say east with a slight southeast nudge to it. We're seeing Ware 417, Mathiston 418, Ackerman We've been mentioning you guys a couple of times. 421. I would argue that could be even sooner. Let's go ahead and just move this a little bit closer because I want to make sure I get those times exactly right. So Ackerman, same 423. We'll do a more tighter approach on this. So Ackerman 420, 421, Tucson 423, Sturgis 431, and then Adenton 439. I did pull up an MDOT camera over there in Starkville, and I want to take a look at that. Oh, so not saved it. But yeah, we'll take a look at that.
Go ahead. And, yeah, just go
on MDOT.
Yeah.
Okay. Just looking. And then be too close to. Well, not at all.
I think that should work.
This is looking north and east.
Yeah, they're not gonna have the right angle on that.
Unfortunately. Are you just walking back up?
Either way, actually, you take that for just a minute.
Okay. So again, trying to get a view on those storms rolling into the Choctaw, Tibahaw County area. I'm not getting one that is able to see the horizon, unfortunately. So I don't know if we're going to get a visual. I'd say this is our best chance right here, but this is way, way away from the storms. Still just showing you that those wet roadways, showing you the rainfall that's moving in, but definitely going to see some stronger storms move in through the rest of our evening. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Those storms, just continue to keep an eye on as it moves closer and as it's going to impact folks in Ackerman here shortly. I told you that I was going to do more of a concentrated approach on this storm, especially that S shape that we're watching, and I'm going to take a second to just make sure this is all okay. So Ackerman 420, 421 if it keeps on the same speed, but we're going to keep watching for you guys. Go ahead and just be close to your safe place, be close to where you need to be, just in case this does get on the stronger side and increase over the next couple of minutes. But as of right now, we're not seeing anything of immediate concern, as a lot of that is just going to be some broad rotation. Seeing that primarily right there along Chester Tom Nolan Road, going to ride out that 415 to Highway 9 corridor through Chester, and then possibly moving through Ackerman. It might say a little bit north of Ackerman, hopefully, but definitely tracking that as your best threat for rotation. Prompting the warning earlier, continue to watch that over the next couple of scans. Just looking back north of the line, I just want to make sure that we're not missing anything. And a lot of this rotation that we're seeing now is associated with just some updrafts that are causing some small hail development, as well as gusty winds. And in regard to this wake low that we've been looking at, continuing to get strong wind returns. And I was mentioning earlier, very strong wind gusts. This is way high up in the atmosphere because it's a bit of a ways away from the radar site. But just looking at a few of these, I mean, we're seeing 50 to 60 mile an hour returns. So it's going to be gusty winds and not a lot of rain. And that's where it gets to be a little bit confusing to folks that are like, oh, we got past the thunderstorm, we're good to go to bed. Well, unfortunately, you have to deal with gusty winds, and this is going to be moving closer to New Albany here in the next couple of scans. Ripley, Faulkner, and then on into northern Lee County, Prentiss County, Alcorn County, going to be experiencing this as well if it continues at this same rate. But look at the rainfall associated with it. Pretty much nothing, just a few moderate showers here and there and light showers. So it's going to be those winds that you need to be paying attention to as this migrates on out of the area. Looking a little bit north of the line, we're seeing folks in Fulton get a few rumbles of thunder. Folks in Tupelo getting the shower still. We're still hearing it at the station. But fortunately for us, and as I look at the trends over the last couple of minutes, it is moving east. It's going to stay out of our area. So Tupelo, Pontotoc, we're watching you guys for that wake low. But in regards to anything tornadic, I think we dodged it for tonight. I just want to keep an eye on how this is trending. Let me see. So we're getting very broad rotation right there in the Montpelier and Beasley area. That's going to be moving on into the rest of Clay County, northern Clay County. We're talking about you through 47 and riding out 46. So this is something, let's go ahead and just do a storm track on this as it moves across. And this is going to be concentrated on that broad area of rotation. Again, a good bit of a ways away before we see anything produced with this, if anything at all. But it's good to keep an eye on that as it moves through Montpelier, 416, Beasley by about 418. And we can go ahead and extend it all the way out into Monroe County so folks out there can be watching this. We're talking Abbott 434, Molden 441, Binford 447, and White's 450. We're not getting anything that is of the utmost concern. This is something that we're just watching for in the future as the potential for some possible tornadic development continues. But this is an event that we weren't really expecting it to be a tornadic event. This is going to be more of a wind. Oh, this is going. So we're just continuing to track this for that wind threat and still getting some of those strong wind returns out there in Chester. Again, this is going to be on the backside of the precipitation. Usually, whenever you have that S shape, it's going to be on this leading edge. We're talking about folks along Highway 9 north of Chester, getting closer to Reform and Williams, and latest scan taking it even further than that, going to be along Highway 15. But we're not getting those rotating storms out along that rate. We're just getting those strong wind gusts right in the heart of this thunderstorm for folks in French Camp, where and now going to be moving through Ackerman here shortly. And those are wind gusts. Let's go ahead and just see how gusty we're talking about with some of those brighter returns. Going to be 30, 40 miles an hour associated with that. So definitely going to be breezy, but fortunately not tornadic. Let's go ahead and expand things out and look at the very latest. I do want to say there's a high volume of lightning right here in Manti, Beasley, and McCondy. Again, moving closer to 389. Taking a look right there. Should be, yeah, that's on the back end of the precipitation. Yeah, I mean, this continues to be an area that we're tracking because it is still a very mature thunderstorm. Looking at, I want to see if we have any cameras on this that we'd be able to see. Yeah, our tightest area of rotation continues to be out there in Choctaw County, but it's still very, very broad. And as for that wake low, we're still getting some strong returns. Moving into New Albany, let's see if we can see how gusty it is. Let me go ahead and move this over here real quick to a camera. Let's go ahead and jump on I-22 in the Blue Springs area. Looking west. Still getting a good bit of lightning up there. And this isn't even where the precipitation's the heaviest. Just a few moderate showers moving through. You can see the slick roadways. And yeah, good bit of lightning return, but not seeing the breezy conditions just yet. It's still west of New Albany, so it's still a couple minutes away from impacting folks there. But if you hear those winds pick up, don't be surprised, because that's what we're tracking with that wake low developing on the back end of this precipitation. Again, let's go ahead and just take a look at some of those wind returns that they're seeing over there. This is very high up in the atmosphere, and they're still seeing on 50 to possibly even 60 mile an hour at times. And that's out of our Memphis radar site, looking down closer to the Golden Triangle radar site, and just going ahead and populating a few of these numbers. 40, 50, 60 miles an hour at times. So this is still going to be breezy. So there's basically two areas we're watching, and it's going to be this wake low that's for folks up in Union County and up into Tippah County, and then also this broad rotation down in Ackerman. And we're getting some of those brighter returns, but where we're getting those brighter returns is kind of key to knowing the story, because if you look, and I'll go ahead and circle it for you, the area we're primarily watching. It's this right here over Chester Mills Road. But whenever we look at reflectivity, it's on the back end of the precipitation. So this is, again, similar to what's happening up north, where you're getting that possible wake low forming that's going to have those strong wind gusts on the back end of this. But so that leading edge going to be heavy rain. It's going to have lots of lightning, so it is an energetic storm. But also, we're not seeing that rotation out on the leading edge. So fortunately, tornadic threat, not immediate for folks over in Choctaw County. Let's go ahead and just do a broad extent right here of a storm track as it moves in that eastern direction. It's going to include folks in Oktibbeha County, Clay County, Monroe County, and Lowndes County. Moving in that eastward direction, you're seeing several towns listed in there. Let me make sure I have this motion correct and that it's moving in that eastward direction. Yeah, I would say that'd work right there. So looking at Sturgis 427, Longview 435, Starkville, mentioned folks in Oktibbeha County, 444. So that's here in the next 25 minutes or so. So I know school's out. Still some students might be lingering around. Just go ahead and be on standby for that. Columbus 518, so a little under an hour. And then on into New Hope 527, Winfield closer to 541. And I mean, just take a look at how many lightning strikes we're getting, especially along this entire leading edge. It's going to be about 500 strikes that have happened over the last couple of minutes. So this is an energetic storm for sure. And you're definitely going to probably have the walls shake a little bit with some of those lightning strikes. But as of right now, the tornado threat, not immediate. We are seeing some, let's keep an eye on this. Yeah. Okay, this is, Matt, I want to get your opinion on this. Definitely getting some tightening happening over Montpelier, and it's positioned on the leading edge. The last couple of scans have definitely taken it, and you're starting to get that jutting out area. I would definitely say that's an area of concern.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, that's the spot we'd be looking for it to be. My hair was swooping. Uh, that would be the spot we would be looking for it. Yes, that's about to produce. Okay. No, it's not. We are live at WTVA.com/live and WTVA Weather and WTVA News app. If you know somebody who lives out here, this would be obviously northwest Clay County, north of Beasley, near 47. Let's pop off all that lightning. There's just too much of it on there to see. That could be, man, if that hasn't produced something, we've gotten lucky here, but it's trying very hard to produce something. I have a guess on what to do there, um, back there, but I'm not supposed to take that guess, but I'm about ready to take that gamble and take whatever comes with that. Let's do a reset here. That is probably a tornado, near 47. Gabe was all over this, moving in the direction of Abbott and the Strong community. This would be north of West Point. This would be south of McCondy that we're tracking this area of circulation. So let me get the circle on here. Right there is where it is. We do a storm track, and I need to double check to make sure that I have. We need to ask them in chat about that. That would be the weather service down there in Jackson, what they think about that. I'm gonna go 35 miles per hour. That's about the speed you were tracking in a minute ago there. And so that is, I would say, potentially a tornado that we're looking at here. As soon as you've asked that, I need to trade you places because I need to give my best guess on the control room.
Send it up.
Okay,
So
ready?
We'll see what
Okay,
they get back.
let's trade you back, but that's probably, if that's not on the ground, it's probably close.
Yeah, and so here's a look at a few of the areas that are going to be impacted. We're talking about Abbott School 437, Third Union Missionary Church 442, New Hope School 443, Molden 446, Strong Community 452, Benford 454, and Darricot 458. Again, this is an area of rotation that we've seen tighten over the last couple of scans, and you're seeing it right there in regards to the area we need to be looking at. It's this broad rotation we're getting right here. Just go ahead and put a circle on that and see how it's trended over the last couple of scans. But you can definitely see where it has tightened briefly, and it's kind of got that broad rotation still with it. So looking at the latest, I want to make sure that we're not missing anything from National Weather Service, but we definitely see enough potential for a... Okay. So yes, still getting that on the leading edge. And the reason why this is definitely something that we've been... Okay. Okay, so...
Okay, so if you can hear me on the screen in just a second, I'm gonna trade you places here real quick.
Okay.
We're gonna probably hit the open here in a second. We are on the live stream, Michael, if you can hear me down back in the back room there. We do not have a tornado warning on this. This is probably, if it's not producing a tornado, it will be very soon. Let me know when. Yeah, here we go. So give me just a second here. I'm going to go on TV in a second. I know that's massively better. We are on the weather app right now. So give us a second. We'll be on finally on that. Hey, Chief Meteorologist Matt Walpon here alongside our meteorologist Gabe Maynor. No official tornado warning western Clay County, but near 47. It looks like we might have briefly had something spin up in the last couple of moments. We've been tracking this on Facebook Live for a little while here. Our meteorologist Gabe Maynor spotted this one very, very carefully, and I think it might have lifted in whatever it was. Oh man, is that going to be a debris signature? No, that might be in the wrong spot for that. Okay, so let's kind of reset things here for just a moment. The reason I say that is there's this area of circulation we're watching in Clay County. I'll show it near Montpelier in this scan here, near 389 that we've been monitoring. And then it briefly kind of spins up there south of Sparta Road near Salis Sioux Road, and then near Hopewell Road. Those couple of scans there, not impossible that this was trying to spin up a tornado. You can't say for sure that that is where this is, what this has done, but it's often been awfully close. So if you're out here ahead of this line, and in particular in western northwest Clay County. We want to make sure you're probably in a safer location because of this. So a reminder where that is. A sturdy structure, a small windowless room. I'll circle our area of concern that's kind of prompted us to come on the air here. I think we might be past its full maturity there. Hopefully that means whatever it is lifted. But we're looking at, or maybe never sat down in the first place, but near 47 between McCondy and Abbott, where we are concentrating on this area of rotation that could potentially be a tornado there, or could have potentially produced a tornado recently. So that's our area of concern. It shows up even a little bit better on the precipitation mode there. We talked a little bit ago, we're watching for the S's. And so you can see right there, the little hook that sticks out in front. That's pretty much what these look like on these kind of quick moving storms. So unfortunately, it looks like we might have had this briefly produce something within the last few minutes here. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. It's 4:27 a.m. I know that's either a very late hour for you or a very early hour, depending on your perspective here. And we have a line of storms here stretching down past Maben and Ackerman as well that has shown from time to time some rotation, including prompting a tornado warning back out here in the Carroll County and clipping some sections there of Montgomery County a little bit ago. We also have on the north side of this, let's see if it's still kind of going on there. We also kind of have a wind event going on here back into Union and Tippah counties. Had one of these a couple weeks ago, we'll call Wakelow, showing up a little bit better a little bit ago, hopefully weakening just a little bit as well. I'm going to track that section on the north side there because that is what everything I track here. This is not tornado. This is probably sporadic wind damage from this there. And so show that through Sherman at 4:39 there. I'm going to quickly pop up an MDOT cam. We've got to go back to Clay County and see what we can see on that. We should in the next few moments here have a new scan in. Thinking Clay County, so I popped out Clay County on that. But I need to make sure we're not talking about something that isn't something up here in Blue Springs, because that should start to get into the wind here in a minute. It does not look particularly windy at this point. It was a lot bouncier with the cameras when they were up in Oxford a little bit ago on this. So hopefully it is weakened. It does look a little bit weaker, and maybe on precipitation we almost tell a better story, because you can see that curl there. We'll call it an MCV, or a mesoscale convective vortice. Larger thing. Not tornado would be a microscale vortex, and this would be a wider scale one. And so that's a couple weeks ago, I think May 9th. It was May 9th or May 7th? 7th. May 7th. We had one of those, and it kind of caused some sporadic wind damage. Still could be some of that potentially with this as well. Let's go back here to Clay County, because as you can see, just follow the lightning. Sometimes it's kind of your easiest clue. These are our two storms with the greatest amount of lightning, and the one up here in Clay County could potentially be trying to produce a tornado near Abbott. For some wider perspective for a moment here, this will, the main circulation is probably back west and northwest of the West Point area. I think this is as slow as I can make this go. But near Lake Grove Road, where we're looking at that there, we're between 389 and 47. If you can get in our my Facebook live chat, somebody's mentioned 389 a little bit ago. I don't have time to really dig through that, but they would probably be a resource for figuring out. There might have been 389 when it was farther north up there. But near Lake Grove Road, where that is now. This would be 45 alternate. This is Mississippi Highway 25. This is US 45 there. And so we're looking probably time to 45 alternate no more than about 10 to 12 minutes at absolute maximum. We are moving 35, not 55. So I'm going to go, it might be a little, I might say about, 11 minutes. A little close on that. About 7 miles away from that. Going back to precipitation mode, it kind of shows our inflow area a little bit better out here. Lake Grove Road right there, working its way toward a US 45. So we're going to stick with this for a couple more minutes here, regardless of what we do on the air on WTVA and ABC WTVA. We're going to keep the live stream up here as we're watching it as well, but no official warning. But just the fact that we had this kind of briefly try to spin something up when it was back right there near Montpelier. For one reason or another, too far into this shot. Let me move over here a little farther. When it was back toward Montpelier and Hopewell Road, that's what we're tracking near Todd Elliott Road and the intersection there of Lake Grove Road as well. Let's look generally the direction we can north out of West Point. This is from the intersection there of 45 alternate and Mississippi Highway 50. So let's get the latest scans. And so we'd be right there at that main intersection looking northward. Not a good shot at this, unfortunately, but that's as good as we can get. Lightning definitely picking up. I clicked the lightning strikes off. There's just so many because you can't really see the data through the lightning strikes. This is way more electric than our storms last night were. Or, I mean, yeah, I guess technically last night. Early pre-dawn Saturday morning. And so tons of lightning with this. So whether it's producing a tornado or not, it's probably producing sporadic power outages and wind damage as well. Let's look along the leading edge of this. Let's kind of reset things here for a moment. As again, there's a couple, like, see this, and I don't know if we're trying to develop an MCV on this as well. You can see how it's kind of curled back around. I think as this moves towards Starkville, this will be some sporadic wind damage as well, if we can kind of continue at this rate. So we show that again, working there closer to around Starkville within the next about 15 minutes or so, really less than that for the western side of town. If we're going 35 miles per hour on this, I'm going to get the leading edge here. The stronger wind would probably be a little bit behind this. So let's kind of track that ahead. We show Starkville 444. So about 12 minutes or so. I was a little over on my time there. So about 12 minutes or so. I'm going to minimize that West Point camera here in just a second, Gabe. Once we've cleared that, go ahead and pull up the one on the north side of town.
It did not have a great read. It had a blue hue of a light right on the horizon.
Oh man, okay. Well then let's leave that one up then. If that's as close as we're going to get on that, let's go ahead and leave it up. Okay, so we're going to go south to north on this line. Trees and power poles reported snapped near Strawberry Hill Road on Highway 82 from the North Mississippi Storm Chasers. So we'll get clarification on the exact spot. And trees reported down on Highway 17. So we'll get that. Let's reset again. Okay, 434, Chief Meteorologist Matt Lomfond, alongside our meteorologist Gabe Maynard. We're going to start south, work north on a line of what presently is unwarned thunderstorms that might be trying to spin up some brief circulations, perhaps a tornado. Let's look south to north on this line here because I think the immediate threat that got us on the air might have passed. The thing is that any tornado threat on these is going to be transient, meaning it's there one scan, it's not the next, or it wasn't there and now it's here this scan. We can go on and on for hours and hours in that situation, and that is not the purpose of the coverage we do on the air. That's why we handle that slightly differently off of the air, on all the live streams and stuff like that. So it starts south to north, and then we're going to send you back to regular programming if we don't have more. 8 to 10. Look at that spot there. This is kind of that rotation we were talking about. It's a broad rotation. It's not a tornado rotation, but could still be some strong winds as this kind of erodes away and dry air kind of mixes in more with this as it works its way towards Starkville. That enhances some of the wind gusts there as well, the evaporative processes. A lot of jargon to say it's going to be windy in Starkville with that. And we come up here toward Abbott. This is trying very hard to spin something up. We briefly, as we've said a number of times here near Hopewell Road, probably had something that spun up or at least got very close. You could still see all the inflow in this right there, the rotation with that. Looking across US 45 near the Monroe-Clay County line within about the next 7 to 8 minutes or so. So this whole section here we're going to track for you. And in particular, I'm tracking the spot that's probably closest to spinning something up. We get an angle that goes over here toward Caledonia. Locations that direction. Whites, we're looking at 443. Strong 444. Vinton 451. Columbus Air Force Base about 458. The Ridgeland subdivision at 503. Caledonia at 508. Steens at 511. And Malloy at 519. This is Doppler radar indicated rotation that at times has looked like it was trying to spin something up. At this moment here, I'd say it's more straight line wind than anything else along this bow there. But this right there, near the corner there of Chickasaw, Monroe County, in the southwest corner of Monroe County, one of the spots that we are watching, that would likely stay south of Aberdeen, that portion of the thunderstorm. Before I go on, we'll say lots and lots of lightning with that, so there will be power disruptions clearly on that as well. I'm just keeping the lightning off. And then north of that, I don't see anything of great enough concern to continue a wall-to-wall situation where we're on nonstop. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to send you back to regular programming. We are live on the WTVA Weather, WTVA News app. If you have one of these, we're live on there on your computer as well. If we get to the point where it's not just us guessing that maybe this is happening, that it is actually something happening, we'll break back in here. So keep it here for the latest. Okay, so 437. Let's start north and work south. We should start if this is actually producing the same kind of stuff we expect out of a wake low on the north side here, then we should start to see it here pretty quickly. So I'll repeat for those folks on the stream here what I just said for our Facebook Live, one of the Facebook Lives going on over here. If this is going to be producing wake low like damage, we should start here at the station hearing the wind here in just a minute. And I haven't heard much yet, but we should know here in just a minute where it's going. It does look like some of the cameras there, MDOT cameras, are other times, which means that sometimes when this happens, that means it's signs of power outages there. Now it looks like it's just bringing in some old stuff. This is not, these aren't bouncing around at all in Sherman.
It's calmed down a good bit.
It really has. Like, I'm gonna check Saltillo. I mean, that's virtually nothing. So that's not of a significant concern. Let's look at really anything in Tupelo. So the four-way at 44. I know this wouldn't be overly windy because we'd be, man, there's a lot of lightning. Okay, I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time here. If you see a reason to be concerned with this, trying to develop something like that, let me know. We'll come back north. But we got some real things south, and so let's concentrate on that. Because again, this curl we see here is probably the next one of these strong wind potentials moving toward Artesia, Brooksville locations like that. And so it's come up here on the north side then, up here toward Aberdeen, and really it's south of Aberdeen. It's north of West Point. You still have that West Point camera open?
Florida.
Okay. We'll get that camera up here in just a moment.
I was looking at power outages.
Mm-hmm.
And they are showing several in Carroll County and and Grenada County have a few outages as well. But
Is this ready to go? Okay, hold it up. So this is the West Point camera. Yeah, a lot of lightning with that there as that is coming in. I'm going to keep it a little bit smaller here for a moment as we kind of look. The strongest part is north of town. In saying that though, on the north side of West Point, I'll see if we can. I will leave that one up. I'm going to pull up the north camera here. You'll have in the background, and then the foreground here. Look at that! Look at that! Right in town as that's hitting the one we had up there. So this is the wind hitting it. That is, I mean, that's 50 to 45 to 50 miles per hour. I've seen a couple gusts in there that are probably in that greater than 50 mile per hour winds. But that's borderline severe there. I mean, you can just see the wind gusts, shooting across the road there. So this is the part of this that was trying to kind of spin something up there a little north. This is what's trying to kind of wrap around, because as you can see, winds are now out of southwest on this. It's not like a true west wind. So this is some of what's kind of trying to wrap back around, but obviously we're in the precipitation. And now as we go 4:40 to 5 o'clock in the morning, more and more people are starting to kind of get up and going here. Raining hard in Phoebe. I believe it. Looking at here, that is a highly likely situation there. Starkville. Okay, hold on. Is this a camera or is this a?
No, go Starkville.
Okay, hold on a second. And then I'm gonna look down here towards Starkville. Where specifically Starkville?
North of town, you're seeing some broad rotation.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, if that's going to do it, it's going to be up here north of 82. Let's look at that 182 west side of town camera northbound on that.
West Point still.
Well, okay, leave West Point up then. Leave West Point up. I'm going to bring up Starkville on my own over here, Starkville and west part of town, and the northbound. Is West Point still rough?
It's gusting.
Yeah, it definitely is. We're trying to kind of multitask there. God, see, I'm glad we didn't completely disengage from it. Um, but see now we are north winds there in West Point. So we were all kind of west and southwest. You've seen a fairly dramatic shift in the wind there as well. So let's couple things. Okay, so let's go. I'll leave that up again because that's kind of our eyes to what's really happening with one of these at the moment since we can't get one of the cameras. Yeah, this is so okay. So we had this trying to kind of wrap around kind of into here. So if this is current scan, give me a moment to piece this together. So 441, that would have been probably 436 or so. We were southwest winds on this, and then now we're more north winds, kind of the backside here. The north winds kind of wrapping back around on this. So this is trying to wrap something up, and it's really kind of on the north side of town. So okay, so we have the initial area of circulations farther north here. And then we have something new near Yokohama, and that big old solar farm they have out there that they're building that's trying as well. Let's get a storm track on that. I'd say that's our most significant damaging potential at this moment here. I'm going to go a little bit more east than maybe is obvious at first. So you can see some of the winds there. I'm going to pull that camera down and let's switch it to one out of Starkville now. Let's switch on the northeast side of town. There's your track. I'm not going to be able to stick with this whole lot longer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I need to get back to Starkville. I know I just said, well, that's our most, well, but Starkville, northeast side of town there, near Rocky Hill, Osborne, or Old West Point Road there, where it comes up to Tibby and that establishment. That is where this is starting to get a little bit more organized, kind of working in that direction there. Now, I'll be honest, looking at precipitation, that's not as imminently obvious. The one north, looking on precipitation, is a little bit more obvious here. But this one, let's just get a track on that. Let's double check it because there's some kind of a feature, as you can see, kind of moving that green there, kind of moving in there. And then because of that, there's a little shear. Anytime we have a little shear between storm features, we get a little concerned. So along West Point Road there, what we're looking at, Gabe has one of those cameras up that I'll pull up here. And that's Starkville. Okay, so that's the wind. Obviously, not as impressive as what we were looking at just a moment ago there.
That's the only view looking north that's closest to this rotation, so that's right
Yeah.
on 12.
Okay. Go ahead. That's
Oh, no,
that's
that was just basically, it's right on 12, right across Chick-fil-A, so it kind of makes it effective looking north in the storm, but it shows great conditions despite where it's rotating up.
okay. Is the one on 182, the far northeast corner?
It doesn't look north. It looks east-west.
I want to see wind speeds on it. It's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm not going to get the exact up here near White's.
Here's east. It's up.
And okay, on two. Keep an eye on that for a minute here. On two, I need to track this here. Should have a new scan coming in because near the Yokohama plant. This is at least probably some strong damaging winds potentially on that. It's at a weird angle for the radar site because this is trying really hard to kind of wrap back up like this. So my radar is not going to, up in Monroe County, isn't going to have the perfect angle to capture the strongest winds like it did last night. How fast is this going on the all cone here? Let's get this back to 35 miles per hour. Okay, good. So we're good there. So let's track then. I'm going to put on every little place we can get here. I'm going to take this more east. I am going to include Caledonia eventually in this track. And I'm going to adjust to east just a little more. It looks like we have a new scan that's come in on that. And so now that we kind of have everything on the screen for a moment here, original circulation was kind of this north one up here, right? It's kind of more still right on the Monroe and Clay County line. And then down here near Barton Ferry Road, West Point, this is some strong straight line winds you saw a moment ago going through the West Point area, some sporadic power outages potentially possible out of this. And the question is can this wrap all the way around? It's really failed to do it so far. Hopefully that remains the case with this. Kind of a complex forecast and a lot of maybes going on. The good thing about maybes is, If we weren't saying maybe, we'd have something obvious, and that would not be a good thing for the people where it was obvious, right? So some maybes again down here closer to that establishment on 45 that's
182 is
very visible.
kind of give it perspective, and it's in the heart.
One more time.
182 is on 3.
Okay, I'm gonna pull that up here. Yeah, so that is okay. That's it's not the highest resolution MDOT camera we have, but yeah, the rainfall is pretty heavy there. You can see the raindrops being driven across the lens there, and the camera definitely kind of wobbling around. I think we have this is the winds kind of flowing up toward that storm that we're tracking in Clay County. I mean, all the raindrops being driven across there. Oh yeah, look at that. So we're probably, I mean, you can see it's driving at an angle. The raindrops are not falling down the lens; they're going across the lens.
It's right in the heart of the Broadway. That is the point example.
Okay. So there, that is?
Yeah, with that wraparound.
Yeah. Okay, so that's, but see, that's MCV road. Find me as far west in town as you can. Now, I want to see, because it should be blowing abnormally hard on the west part of town if this is what that's going to do. Up here in Clay and approaching Lowndes County, Columbus Air Force Base, this has really kind of changed our angle like this, and that's not good. Anytime we're kind of northeast, northwest to southeast on this angle, it's digging up. And so somewhere along the edge here, it's trying to spin up. I don't know that it'll do it. The atmosphere is not perfectly structured for that tonight, and luckily the wind profile does not necessarily back it up. But tons of lightning on this as well. I mean, you have an inflow, like all these are flowing in. It's not clean inflow, but all those you could see kind of the line there of individual kind of storms that are kind of, not storms, but parts of storms, towers, updrafts, that are kind of being pulled in here. And so as that energy is being pulled in, sometimes if the shear is wrong, and in particular what we have, whatever that feature is we have coming up from the southwest, that's where it all sometimes combines in the wrong way. And I don't think now, I do not think what we're watching down here is advancing as strongly as it was. We had this brighter green that was back here toward Rocky Hill, right there. It was kind of flowing up along the edge there. It has not caught up to the leading edge, so hopefully that means less impressive things out of that. It has not caught up to the leading edge there. Still probably some strong gusty winds with this. I don't know that we're quite the 60 or 70 miles per hour, but some sporadic wind damage possible out of this. So power back on at some locations. That's a good sign there. Let me kind of go back through here what we're looking at. Aberdeen has lost power, according, and Starkville, some folks have lost power as well. Really bad south of Mathiston. As I'm just going through, some of the folks here are asking, Amory, Gapman, Maben, as often is the case in our Facebook chat where people start asking, okay, what do we need to know? What do we need to do? One that I will address specifically is West Point. If you obviously are in West Point proper, we're past the worst of this. We're watching this out closer to the Tennessee Tom Bigby Waterway, out there west of 45. Obviously, we have 45 alternate. We have regular 45 there. I guess true 45. Either way, 45, not 45 alternate, is what this is approaching. Near, I'm pretty much right on the far eastern edge of Clay County, where it kind of joins up there with Lowndes County. I luckily do not have obvious circulation showing up in here, but this is the spot we're watching. Certainly on precipitation, it shows up better. It's a good sign when it shows up better on precipitation than wind, and we're kind of this close to the radar. That's usually a good thing.
I do want to say I got on Fort County Electric Power Association's page. There are 690 outages on the north side of town.
Okay, I'm gonna pull that. I will pull that up here on.
Yeah, more outages around it, but very isolated. 690 that makes sense out.
On the which side?
It's north side of Starkville, right along 82, and then north of that, just south of Cedar Bluff.
Okay, Phoebe.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'll pull up that site that you were talking about a second ago. Have all these out of maps up. Give me just a moment to pull them up. Not behaving. Okay. While I pull these up over here, trade me spots for a moment, Gabe.
Okay.
And I'm still watching right there along the Tennessee Tom Bigby.
Where it's kind of wrapping around.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where it's still. I mean, but it's definitely more so on precipitation than that. I'll get these sites up.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, I mean, it's just basically following that same track. It's all been wrapping around on this wrap around of moisture, seeing it on reflectivity, and we've seen it on winds a couple of times. That's why we've had to cut into the newscast just because of that, those winds wrapping around. But as of right now, still very broad, but you can definitely see where that rotation is taking place right there along 373 and just around the Columbus Air Force Base area. So let's go ahead and just do a track on that as it continues to move in that east-northeast direction. We're talking about folks at the Air Force Base, but also Caledonia, about 507. Air Force Base going to be closer to 456. Still very broad and still a couple scans away from producing, but definitely still something to keep an eye on as it does have that, especially, yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. On the reflectivity, showing that notch more than what the winds are depicting, and that's going to be right there east of Vinton, about 373 in the Columbus Air Force Base area. Should go north of the Air Force Base, fortunately. But folks along 45 need to go ahead and get prepared, and especially as it moves towards Caledonia, I see it's going on that direct east path right there towards Caledonia. So still a couple scans away from anything major, but definitely something to keep an eye on, like we've been mentioning. And yeah, I just want to make sure that there's nothing else that we need to be tracking right now. I do want to say that those outages did happen on the north side of town. We're talking north of Starkville, encompassing a large portion of folks right there, about 690 outages that we're working to pull up right now to show you guys. But the rotation that was there and the strong winds that were there, not getting those returns like what we were earlier, just even a couple of minutes ago. So our area of primary concern continues to be around the Air Force Base as that continues to wrap around. I want to make sure that we don't have anything on here that we would keep up the note. We are getting some reports of more damage around Carroll County, so our prayers are with those folks impacted out there, and hopefully they have a quick recovery from what was a strong wind event over there for sure. The Columbus Air Force Base continues to see that rotation, broad rotation happening and moving in closer to town. I will say the reflectivity not showing it as much. It definitely shows some of that wrap around, that surge of that RFD on the bottom or on the south side of town, but not getting strong returns on the wind mode, and that's a good thing. We want to question rather than have a definite.
And so I'll trade you for just a second to show that some of the power outages there. As we're looking back, I have the ones pulled up that we were talking about in the Starkville area. Just to this iPad every single time been disconnecting lately, so we'll see if it decides to pop up. There we go. I think we're back. Technology. Okay, so here's what Gabe was mentioning, this kind of cluster of power outages on the north side where we were spotting some of that rotation a little bit ago. Far for me to say that it was any kind of tornado or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying, even though I guess that is kind of what just fell out of my mouth. That's not what I'm saying on that. It's more likely some straight line winds on this storm as it kind of moved through the Starkville area on the north side there. As I go back and we look at kind of the wind, well, I mean, you do have an interaction there. But you see, I mean, you have, this is that surge we were talking about combining near Wade Road. And so if you look at that there, that is about that north and northwest portion that we're looking at with that. I don't know the exact substation that could have hit. It could have hit something more important, and as far as the infrastructure is concerned, and if it takes that, it also just as easily could have been lightning. Tons of lightning on this thunderstorm there near US 82 where that was. But either way, power outages have certainly gone up on 4 county site in just the last little bit here. Looks like considerably more than what we had last night there as well. You kind of look at that graph. I'll make it big for just a moment to kind of show that, and then we'll look at current stuff. But yeah, you can see the spike. It'll take those power crews a little while to get things back on. The other thing that we will note is up here in Clay County, where we did have that circulation pack in kind of northwest of the West Point area. We do have some sporadic power outages up in here as well. No defined, for sure area. So whatever it was, there was some wind damage that occurred back up that direction as well. Current time is 4:57. We're coming up on 5 o'clock in the morning. These thunderstorms continue to largely look more disorganized than they did earlier on. Hence the reason we're not on television at the moment with this. I think it still could have enough of a surge to cause some sporadic wind damage, but I don't see anything that is a for sure damaging wind component with what we're looking at there. We did get a new meso at 440. I know that's
what we're doing now.
it is okay, good. Then I'm going to disengage from that. I'll let me know what that is. Area of greatest concern up pretty close to the Columbus Air Force Base right now. I'm gonna check some of the MDOT cameras there here in a moment. And looking back through what you got getting bad at the Air Force Base, well, that's what we're watching for you right now down there, Jason. In what is kind of coming in at this instant here, which is some strong gusty wind. Still watching some spots there where we have some kind of interactions, but I would say that the overall presentation on radar is less impressive than it was earlier when it did have that circulation. Still along the leading edge here, some sporadic wind damage remaining a possibility. 35 miles per hour, I think what we were going with on the speed of this a little bit ago. The rain, if we're talking steams, arise for you, there will be rain and some of the heavier rain and maybe some gusty winds that arise before this. I'm tracking really the meat of this line as it moves southeastward there. Caledonia will go 4:59. We're tracking for you in Columbus at 5:01 a.m. Fernbank 5:16, Millport 5:22, Ethelsville 5:25, Kennedy 5:31, Fayette 5:37, and Reform at a 5:46. Again, 35 miles per hour forward speed on this. Some broad areas of rotation, but we don't have anything that I think is for sure, tornado in the development phase or anything like that. Come north on this line, and we'll look at the north side here in northern Monroe County. And really, I don't have nearly anything as impressive there. So let's talk about kind of what we're looking at, an overall assessment on radar of where things kind of stand as of now, basically 5 o'clock in the morning. Maybe it's late to say go to sleep on this, but I will say if you're back here, everything behind this, no, asterisk was the last thing I had on there. That tells you we had something that was questionable earlier.
Well, do you want to know a little bit about that, though?
Yeah, go ahead and tell me what the Bezo said.
So they issued a new severe thunderstorm watch for basically all of central southern Arkansas, and that is what's moving into our area later this morning. And models were showing a pretty intense system, relatively speaking, happening right around church time, and it's still showing exactly that for our short-term model.
So say one more time, say the last part there, because it was funny. You said church time, and I said I was going to change what I wrote on my graphic here.
Yeah, I mean, you can go to church. This is not going to be, I would say, an immediate tornadic threat, but strong wind gusts definitely want to be
on the next batch.
Yes, on the next batch happening, I would say late morning.
Okay. So that is, as you can see, kind of well back to the north and west. I got to change this out there. This has been one of the tricky parts about this. Projections originally had what's come through this early morning and showed it being strong, and then weakened it, and then it ended up being a little more impressive. And then, but this was kind of the main show that we were watching for today, arriving a little later on this morning. So that's kind of what's moving in and moving through. Will eventually move through as well. Let's check the speed on that to give some long range storm track for folks there. I mean, they're showing wind speeds 70 miles per hour on that, and they are showing a forward motion of 60. So basically, a mile a minute as it gets closer to us. Clear that off. And actually, I will put on the watch that Gabe was mentioning just a moment ago there.
It's right up to the river.
Yeah, so that's the severe thunderstorm watch. Severe thunderstorm as opposed to tornado because it's the strong straight line wind potential that is the main concern out of that line as it moves in. Kind of the next line. Let's get the angle right because what's probably going to happen is, this comes down to fuel and where there is and where there is not fuel. So let's go 60 on this to give us a rough idea of when this could be coming in. And as I adjust this here, the reason I kind of slice off Tupelo, and let's look at this angle, make sure this is good. And I might be too far south with this. I think we're probably right. Greenville close to 9 o'clock. Grenada we showed 9:17. Winona about 9:29. Starkville about 10 a.m. Columbus about 10:30. So the reason we're kind of tracking this for some of you at about those times, I wish we had time for Houston. The Grenada time be pretty close to that, somewhere in the 9 o'clock hour. Obviously, we're tracking 4 hours from now, so times are very, very rough there. But this is going to try to stay on the fuel side. What does that mean? There's what we call CAPE is one of the things we look at, convective available potential energy. And so where that CAPE, where that fuel is more substantial is where this is going to end up tracking. Think of it like, you ever watched a movie and the bad guy throws a match down and the flames follow the gasoline and blow something up, right? The storms are going to follow the gasoline. They're going to act like flames. I've always thought that's kind of ironic that we use colors that look like they could be flammable here, right? Like they could be flames. But the flames follow the gasoline, and the storm follows the instability in the fuel kind of the same way. And so that is where this will probably end up going. So as my graphic here kind of populates, what this for sure tells me is that the instability that's depicted here is probably incorrect. I'm going to make my model do the last 12 hours. I'm going to go backward on this here to see. You see how this had this kind of coming up from the southwest, and it gobbled up probably a little more than reality was the case. I will make an argument that if I don't think I have a graphic put together that can do this. Wider shot here, longer loop. The angle on that, see how that means all this stuff out here, all this area, Ackerman, Louisville, Jackson, all this zone here is unturned over. It's largely still fertile for thunderstorms, and so that would be the spots it'd be most likely to track. Hopefully, we've really kind of mixed things up a little too much, but that's kind of the long range where this is going later on this morning. Is that batch is coming in? So that's what Gabe was checking in what we call a mesoscale convective discussion, which is something that the NOAA, the National Weather Service, puts out related to storm development. By the way, part of the reason this looks like it's weakening, number one, it might be weakening, but number two, it's attenuated. The radar beam sends out energy and it's reflected back. We actually call this rainfall mode reflectivity based on how much energy is reflected back. Brighter returns, more energy reflected back. So the situation there would be, if it's something that's worth hitting, ice or rain, debris, it reflects back very well. And so the reflectivity is down on this because the radome's wet and it's shooting through a lot of precipitation. So that attenuates that makes it to where it does not look as impressive as reality might actually end up being. There are a couple spots there because I'm going to pull up our camera, and I'm a minute late here on this, unfortunately. One of our cameras here in the Columbus area, kind of checking to see. There's the wind as it's kind of coming through. I'm sorry as it's coming through Columbus. I was on the real wide shot there, got caught up on what's coming on later. This is not a severe thunderstorm. It is definitely a strong thunderstorm. And if you do have not seen a lot of reports of damage coming here in our Facebook chat, thankfully. And someone mentioned they're getting the wake up call there in the Caledonia area. Absolutely. I know someone mentioned time to get up, not go to sleep. I get that there. So I guess the next thing is when's nap time later today? And nap time later today, honestly, early this afternoon, probably a pretty good time for that. But we will have some thunderstorms move in a little later on this morning here, causing some issues in their own right. That's blowing pretty good there in the Columbus area. Some pretty decent wind gusts coming in. I would say some of those wind gusts are in the probably 45 to 50 mile per hour range. That just locked on me. Still looks like we still have some powers in pretty good shape there. Checking 4 County, don't have a lot of power outages being reported in the Columbus area at this time. But that could be causing some. That's really rocking and rolling a bit there.
It looks the same speed as what it was going through West Point and Starkville, but it could be causing isolated power outages.
Yeah, but I don't think that's quite 60 miles per
Not
hour.
60, but at 50 mile an hour, it's enough.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, Gabe, go ahead.
I was going to say northwest side of West Point reporting more outages, and that's where we got some of that broad rotation moving through earlier. Not the tight couplet that we went on air for, but after that, when we started to get some of that more broad rotation but strong returns, you're starting to see about 64 outages in northwest side of town.
Yeah, I see that there. South of the 25-45 split. Coming in closer, so that camera we were just looking at is pretty much right about there. And so this is that wind, and we do have a little bit of an interaction going on there. Let's look at the precipitation mode. So that's back up in this. It's going to be easy for me as a person that loves data and believes my data. Caledonia mentioned more calm than it was 5 minutes ago. Yeah, the strongest wind on that has kind of come through that leading edge up here. Still probably 40, 50 mile per hour winds out of that. Not quite severe, though I will note that what's kind of happened in the middle here, see how this is concave and now it's more convex. This might have, caved in there and then kind of pushed out. That might have had some closer to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. We're just at a really bad angle. We can't sample it from the radar site really well at this angle, unfortunately. Which makes it kind of tricky. Here. So let's track that bulge there that's kind of bulging toward the south and east. I got to change our track. I think we went 35 miles per hour still. Will you double check that speed, Gabe?
45,
No, I said 35 because I think that's what we were going earlier. I can't say that I'm 100% convinced that is still the speed we're going on this. See, and that was also our previous circulation up there, broad circulation down near Steens, Caledonia. So yeah, I mean, definitely still calm it down a little bit more there. I'm watching maybe that broad area. Watch this. See, we have winds that are coming up from the southeast kind of ahead of this. It's not really the perfect thing. It's all kinds of little spin things. I'm telling you, if we had more radars, which budget cuts, we're lucky to have the ones we have. Up there toward Vermin, there's just little spins. There's things you just don't see when you're far away from the radar site that we can see when we're this close. All kinds of little waves of wave. It's just kind of like waves in the water, except for with other worse side effects. 40?
Yes, you go 40. A side note, so Winston County had some broad rotation down on the northeast side of the county. They are reporting about 230 outages on Mississippi Electric Power. Yes, 231 outages just northeast of Louisville.
Oh, right there. That was southwest Oktibbeha County.
Yes.
Near Craig Springs. See, I wouldn't have called that a tornado by any stretch. I mean, look at that. And I don't know that these are necessarily have been tornadoes that we have seen. I do think that some of these little areas like this, these little enhancements are probably just wind enhancements where you're just getting some stronger gusts of wind out of that. Now you said, which was that?
East Mississippi.
East Mississippi. Give me a moment to pull that up. Let's get the now. I'm going to just put a track now that you said 40 miles per hour on kind of all of the leading edge of this for southern Lamar, Lowndes, and Pickens County. And so there are some times, I'm not going to The reason I'm not going to read those off from you is I'm going to try to get this other pulled off, but I know y'all can catch that here. Yeah, you mentioned East Mississippi and outage map. Yep, I see what you're talking about there, kind of northeast side of Louisville. Here, we'll pull that up for you, as if you have to tell the people that are out of power, they're out of power, right? That's something you just kind of notice. So northeast side of town. So that is nowhere near as far north as we were looking. So we were looking all the way up here close to Craig Springs. I don't know what that was. That could potentially have just been that because of all the lightning. I've turned off lightning strikes, and I think that means I've de-emphasized them a little bit in my discussion, just because I was trying to see data. But the reality is that I think with the lightning strikes, that could just been lightning related as well. Either way, power outages there in Winston County associated with this storm complex. And put on some of those lightning strikes back on there again. As you can see, they're nonstop and they're pretty much everywhere. Going back to the precipitation mode on this, kind of working its way east and southeast. Speed on this continues to be about 40 miles per hour. We've largely cleared things out. So we're not doing go to sleep. Maybe we're doing go to church. The reality is everything back behind this line is you don't have to watch this. Appreciate you watching it. Thank you for your support. Put your reports in here. That's great. But someone mentioning some power outages in the Caledonia area, very windy and rainy. Lightning is nonstop. I believe that. This one is a lot of lightning. It is a very electric thunderstorm. Calming down. Okay, so it's kind of depends. Some people have power in Caledonia, some people don't. It just kind of really depends on where you're at. Located on Wolf Road, close to Cherokee Road, crazy lightning and insane sounding wind. I know about where that is here on the north side. Unfortunately, y'all have had some tornadoes in the past that I've been to, and while that's kind of kicked through that spot there's Wolf Road kind of right in the middle. This also could be some of that wind wrapping around the backside of this as well. This happened a couple of times, I think, with these. We have these. I don't want to call them all wake lows because that's not what they are. But the rear inflow jet may be a better way to describe on these, where we're getting some of the strong winds. See, that's the reason I keep taking the lightning off. So I can't pick out where my rotation is because it's covered up with the lightning strikes. There's just so many lightning strikes. Let's see if we can change the size of that lightning. Give me a moment. I know I could do that. Just have to find the place to do it. So we can still see the lightning specks there. That'll work better. Now I want to see what's up here. Okay, that's an updating scan. So yes, I have my red next to my green along the Alabama Highway 96. As that comes around, paints the next one. Yeah, that's not quite what it was a minute ago here. But this is still... See, I have a poor angle on this versus the radar side. This could potentially be some strong and damaging wind in New Hope. And then this is that stuff that we're tracking up there closer to Caledonia. I mean, tons of lightning strikes on this. While I still have lightning up, I'm going to shrink my time scale. This is just... So when it shows 337 lightning strikes on this, that's in the last 10 minutes of data. If I crank it down to the last 5 minutes, these are still very electric thunderstorms with 193 cloud-to-ground lightning strikes just in this small area over that span. Now, to give you an example of where this was earlier, when this was a little more impressive earlier, there were times where this was close to 300 to 400. There was a scan there. See if I can catch it. Yeah, there we are, 400 lightning strikes over that 5-minute period. And follow the lightning to find the greatest number of power outages up in here, where we had more of that rotation. And of course, the Starkville area, we've had some of the greater power outage amounts. This is 430. Obviously, that's 45 minutes ago. We're doing this for comparative purposes, or comparison purposes, to show you that the lightning strike number is down, but still substantial. One thing that I did note kind of on this wider shot, I'm going to use your eyes as well, Gabe, on this, is the way these two, so you have our sustained area circulation here, this bow, and then whatever this is coming up here from the southwest. See how that you get that red enhancement the last couple scans there? Yeah. Something's kind of pushing out there. I don't know if an angle changes because of what's going on at the radar site versus where that is there. Maybe it's something's been there for a while and just more visible. That south one looks like it's a little more enhanced than it was. So either way, do those then combine out here south of Millport? Not impossible, but wind remains the biggest concern out of really any of these storms that we could see. Current time is 5:16, almost 5:17. Gabe, I'll trade you places here for just a minute if you like. And say, well, right before we go that, yeah, this is probably man. Okay, hold on. Do you still on 3?
I have Columbus up.
Okay, let's look at Columbus because here's the deal. I got a ton of power outages on the east side of Columbus.
Let's look at these. So,
Yeah, that's something that's looking into it. Let's pull up. I'll pull that up here for a moment for you. Just the number of power outages on the east side of Columbus is substantial out here. And it looks like a bunch of different areas. It's not just one. Now, it could just be that nonstop lightning causing some of these power outages here.
like that. Probably some wind damage as
It
well.
it could potentially be that enhancement we were looking at on the wind there. That's what this is. So not impossible that this. I mean, that's a lot of power outages, like a ton of power outages. Probably not a tornado. Let's be clear. But you see how that just kind of shows up. Watch back here. It's right along for. I guess I could stop it. Let's track it first, then we'll talk about it. So, and then we're going to look down there near Forreston. Not Forest that I'm looking at there, but Forreston. I'm going to track all that. Some of what I'm tracking here is something else. We need to look closer at Forreston. Northeast Noxubee. Okay. Anyway, Ethelsville, 521, as you can see there. McShann at 527, Carrollton at 537, Reform at 538, Gordo at 553. Again, assuming still moving at about 50-ish miles per hour. I'm sorry, 40 miles per hour. Yeah, that's probably damaging wind there moving into Ethelsville right now. So if you know some folks traveling on 82, that could be an issue. We can get back to that in a second. I'm gonna check this rotation down a little south here. Obviously, radar's under impressive on that. That's a lot of power outages in eastern Lowndes County. And I bet that number is going to keep going up. That's easily the greatest number we've had. Total power outages Four County has for customers. They serve 51,000 and they have 4,500 customers without right now. So not quite 10%, but getting closer to that just because of those East Columbus, Eastern Lowndes power outages with this. And notice how it looks like the storms are strengthening again. We told you that would happen because of that attenuation. The radar beam was hitting that. And so it looks like it weakens there, and now it looks like it's strengthening. No. It's just more of the energy is making it to the rest of the storms because the radar itself isn't being hit by the storm at this point. So looking at that wind enhancement we keep talking about here, the one that we show near Ethelsville, let's see how this pops on. See, and it was to a certain extent there already back here near the 45-82 split. But then you notice how it becomes way more pronounced. Part of that has to do with the angle versus the radar sight, and part of that is the stronger enhancement there. That's a good base velocity in your New Hope area. Hold on a second here. I'm gonna type in here for a second. There we go. Now that's largely exited eastern Lowndes County, and it's now in Pickens County as well. So we need to make the assumption that this whole batch here could be producing some of that sporadic wind damage. And then here, but I will say we don't show as many power outages up there around Caledonia. Caledonia isn't covered by Four County. That would be the reason why. Trying to remember which power company you have there in Caledonia. I'm not thinking of it at this exact moment. I can look it up, but I know that you probably tell me sooner, which is perfectly fine.
Is it Tom?
No. That would be probably, well, no. I don't think they are a monitored one. I don't think they're one that we have access to. Because Tom Bigby be the northern part of the county there. Because that's not nearly as many people as live in Monroe County.
It's not Monroe County, like, that's what I Googled, and that's
I
what.
think I might be. Yeah, it's Monroe Power. Yeah. I knew people at home would check me on that. Uh, see here. This. Okay. We should get the new scan coming around on this storm around Millport here in a second. Just watching for little indentations in the line. Okay, now let's look closer at Millport here. See, Millport. We just have cell mergers going on. And I have to remind myself, any circulations we see are going to be extremely short-lived. So we might go, that looks weird, and go, whoa, that's something, and then immediately go, oh, that was something, and now it's gone. There's typically not a lot of, these are not long track tornadoes if we see them. These are in out kind of tornadoes, just coming real fast. So Millport, watching for you. And Ethelsville as well. Obviously, we know that this is causing power outages down here in Ethelsville moving along 82. So let's get a track on what we do know there, this kind of section of the storm. I'll track, I guess, the entire kind of leading edge here. What has done a more effective job of producing some of those power outages. Millport we show at 523, Delma at 525. Continuing to kind of work that way toward reform at 538, Carrollton 533, Zion at 549, Gorder at 550 as it moves eastward at about 50. I keep wanting to say 50 miles per hour at 40 miles per hour. My brain is still stuck on 50.
Well, it's changed speed so many times too. So
It actually
it's
has.
even numbers.
Go ahead and trade in places on this real quick. Again, I'm gonna sneak over here. I'll take my mouse if that's okay. Actually, you're on one, so it won't do me any good.
Yeah, so I mean, basically what we're tracking is this line of storms that continues to provide damaging wind gusts that are taking out power we saw it in Lowndes County, and now probably doing the same in Lamar County. We could work to pull that up on 3 to see power outages in Alabama. I'm sure we'll start getting some of those in Pickens and Lamar County here in the next probably 15, 20 minutes. But the reason why is because we're getting these damaging wind gusts. Just looking at some of the returns that are happening up higher in the atmosphere, we're seeing 40 to 50. But honestly, we were seeing it on MDOT cameras, and it was looking to be about 55 to 60 with what we're seeing on the ground, just because those bright returns and the interaction with the rainfall is just not exactly a good setup. So folks waking up and heading out the door early for church, especially if you're in Pickens and Lamar County, let these pass on through and just get a later start to your church prepping. But folks out beyond that here in Northeast Mississippi are good to go. A lot of those wind gusts have subsided, and the rainfall being taken out with it. This isn't our only threat, though, and that's the unfortunate thing, because we are tracking another threat for storms into the mid to primarily late morning, and it's going to be right around when we are heading out the door from church services. So we'll talk about that once all of this clears, but still a very clear-cut, strong wind gust right there in Lamar and Pickens County in Alabama. Let's go ahead and do a long track on this as it moves in that eastern direction. And give me a second to just draw this out to encompass all of what's happening over.
They're all the way up.
What's that?
They're up to about 4,300 customers on the east side there of Columbus, kind of south and east side of Columbus. In looking at, if you go to 3, I have that from on.
Okay.
So yeah, there we go. So here is Alabama Power, of course, it's crossing the Alabama state line. Shows some outages there east of Carrollton, but I don't know if that's necessarily related to wind or like this yet. Looking at locations farther north, this would be the other Tom Bigby electric. This one Mississippi, one outbound.
Of course.
And so we do show a greater number of outages, almost a little more than 500 outages between UN, like UN and Brilliant. Sorry. It's like it's time of morning. Either way, there's some out there east of Hamilton, straddling 7845. 7822. Hey, guess who needs to go to sleep? But then I kind of referenced this a moment ago. Here's just the large number of outages there on the east side of Columbus. Significant, taking a while. Also north side as well. So there's a lot of power outages. Four County Group's going to have a long day with some of this back on. Whatever wind events that we have before the next batch.
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, but also reiterating what you said earlier, this is not going to be tornadic damage. This is going to be strong wind gusts and even some lightning strikes out of this as well, because this is basically what we're seeing right now. That leading edge where it's bowing out and you're seeing those bright red returns, those are some damaging wind gusts anywhere from 50, possibly even 60 mile an hour at times as it moves more into Pickens and Lamar County. So luckily for Pickens and Lamar County, we have a general idea of what to expect. Unfortunately, it was pretty significant in regards to the outages. 4,000 is a large amount, especially in a concentrated area like that. So as it's trending in that east direction, here's a look at a few times for folks that are going to be impacted. We're talking Reform 534, Fayette 531, on into Gordo by about 542, Kirk 544, Holman 548, Barry 550, and then Penley closer to about 556. And the primary area, I just want to make sure that we don't have any notches within the strong winds. And I'm not seeing anything that's sticking out right now.
Just that rear inflow jet, on it. One thing Web Service mentioned, we kind of mentioned earlier, but you have that rear inflow jet, power behind it.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, you get some areas that look suspicious, but they are a ways away from producing anything. And what I'm talking about is like right here in Beards Mill, moving closer to 82 there in Reform, you are getting that interaction of those greens and reds and some brighter returns, especially, I mean, looking at it over time. But you're not really going to see anything produced from this because the atmosphere isn't exactly set up in that way. So that's why if anything tornadic does form, it's very brief. It's not going to be those long-lived tornadoes. But this is not our threat. Our threat is going to be those wind gusts. And still, I mean, you're looking at that notch right there, just south of Beards Mill, moving in that east, northeast direction. I just want to go ahead and do a look at times right there because I know folks in Reform, a bit more of a populated area right there across 82, Coal Fire 529, Reform 535. So that's here in the next 5 minutes, probably going to be seeing those breezy conditions and a couple of power outages, unfortunately. So hopefully this subsides and that doesn't happen. But based off what we've seen in the past, it's kind of what to expect. And I saw that the latest scan did come in, so I'm going to move this out just a bit to modify those times. But yeah, Reform 533, so even faster here in the next 3-4 minutes. Bell 537, Gordo 542, and Zion closer to about 544. Expanding things out and kind of looking at what's happening more to the north, and these are going to be the more significant returns we're getting moving into Palmetto, Coal Fire, and then folks into the southeastern sections of Lamar County. It's going to be moving out of our viewing area here shortly, but this is still a damaging thunderstorm that folks need to be aware of here, especially in the next couple of minutes as they're heading to church. My dad, he's a pastor, so I know about those early mornings. He's probably going to be up here in the next hour and probably going to be impacting him over in Birmingham. So he's probably going to have to prepare as well. So hopefully he's watching right now. Palmetto 530, Newtonville 540, Zion 543, and Moores Bridge closer to about 547. Going to be those damaging wind gusts. And looking, and this is still high up in the atmosphere, but it kind of gives an idea of what they're seeing closer to the ground. 46 to 50 miles an hour. Wouldn't be surprised to see a few 60s mixed in there, but this is very high up. What's happening at the surface, I would say probably the same, anywhere from 40 to 50 miles an hour within those storms. Want to keep an eye on reflectivity because reflectivity has been able to pinpoint more of that interaction of rotation more so than wind mode has been. But as of right now, I'm not seeing anything that stands out for any interaction and possible tornado. But those winds, man, still going to be impactful. Outages, are we getting any more out of Alabama so far?
That's what I'm expecting. and we are getting a couple, not a lot, south of the Evansville area along 4th Street, which is that 950 Valley, 15 yeah, so basically, see where it says Jimville Road on there?
Yes.
Right.
So that was that interaction right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these are broad. Don't get me wrong. I mean, this is still primarily a wind event, but yeah, you're seeing Highway 14 where we're getting those outages the most. That's going to be south of Ethelsville, moving into Pickens County. That's also what we're watching that's moving into Reform right now. As you can see, that has transitioned over time, and now moving across Alabama Highway 17 and Highway 82 over Reform right now. I will say the wind returns aren't as bright, especially when you compare it to what's happening up north. But I know folks are waking up, getting around, and Reform here in the next 30 minutes or so. Probably going to be waking up before their alarm clock because of the rumble of thunder that's going to be rolling over the top of them. So taking a look, Reform 5:33, basically here in the next 30 seconds. Lathrop 5:35, Bell 5:36, and Gordo. This is still going to be a wind, primarily a wind event and heavy rainfall. I've also not seen any hail within this, and that's something of note as well, because we were getting some possible hail concerns moving into this event and not getting that. This has been primarily wind and a few isolated tornadoes at times. Still waiting on confirmation, but probably over in Carroll County, they're suspecting that there was a brief tornado touchdown. But looking at the latest on what we're seeing in Pickens County, that's really our area of most concern right now with those bright reds returning. This is what caused a bulk of power outages over there in Columbus and Caledonia, now moving into Pickens County and still at that same strength. Let's just compare what it was earlier. So when it was moving through Columbus, we were getting these bright reds as well, showing anywhere from 45 to 55 to possibly even a low 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts within that and causing 4,000 outages right here in this general area on the east side of town, especially up around Caledonia. Now, as we move it to what's happening right now, there's little change. Honestly, I would say more strength. There it goes. Okay, so they have issued a severe thunderstorm warning on this National Weather Service in Birmingham for those wind gusts. And
stop the storm. Southwest, the southeast, northwest, southeast angle.
It's definitely wrapped around more over the last couple of scans. It's on the leading edge. Yes, and that's what we've been tracking for folks in Reform. Now past you guys moving over 82, but you basically have these interaction of winds. These reds and greens interact with one another, and especially whenever you get that possible RFD on the south side of town, that's going to be allowing that to wrap around, those winds to wrap around and possibly cause a brief spin up. Not showing any rotation detected on this warning. So National Weather Service is not saying a tornado is a primary concern, but definitely damaging wind gusts, and we're getting that right here. Whenever you saw the outages in Caledonia, they probably looked at that and said, okay, this is definitely a damaging storm. Let's go ahead and issue a severe thunderstorm warning to cover that for folks in Pickens County and even over into Tuscaloosa County as well. So that's more Birmingham's area. We're just primarily focusing on Pickens County for folks that are going to be impacted there. Let's go ahead and do one more track, and I want to check this speed here real quick. So we have it at 40. Let's just go, let me do some math here. So who wants to do math at 5 a.m. on a Sunday, right? I tell my wife it's the most important subject, and then she tells me science, and I was like, can't argue with that. Exactly. So this is having it closer to about 50, and I'm going to go 50 just to give people a bit more of lead time. Real speed is probably about 48 miles an hour, so 50, a good estimate on that. So let's go ahead and go back down to this general area down here in Pickens County, especially whenever you're getting that southern surge happening just south of Reform right there. Still focusing on the wind interaction. We're going to keep it along that leading edge, and we'll even include folks in Gordo in that risk area. Now, this is not for a tornadic threat. This is for a wind threat, moving at about 50 miles an hour. So Gordo happening here in the next couple of minutes, right over the top of you guys. Zion, 539. Moores Bridge, 543. Holman, 544. Ekla, 545. And Shirley, closer to about 548. This is going to be damaging wind gusts anywhere from 50 to 60 miles an hour, and that's why they did issue that severe thunderstorm warning up until 6:15 in the Sunday morning. It's been that kind of night. 5:36 right now, so it's just been an active. We call it overnight. You can call it early morning, whichever.
This morning, well, we will not be covering it at that point, but that point will be in Tuscaloosa.
Yes.
You probably only have, I would say, look at that, that is just that morning.
It's trying.
That last, I mean, I saw the update there. And whether that's gonna get an interaction back there all the way to USA, like that back close to the storm or not, it's the border of portion of that public damage you guys are part of, the
Yeah.
Actually, come on, let's, on the drive.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Well, and what he's looking for is this notch right here. Whenever you get that S shape, we've been talking about it all morning. We've gotten it a couple times and gotten a couple scares of possible tornadoes trying to occur. But that we're getting that same case right here on the eastern side of Pickens County. Again, north of Gordo, but it is going to be on the east side of Reform. Folks in Reform not going to be affected, but definitely going to see that on the east side of town, at least try. This is probably going to try outside of our viewing area. And so we're talking folks in Birmingham taking over. And so Tuscaloosa County going to need to pay attention to that. So if you know of anyone in Tuscaloosa, I don't know if U of A is actually out of school just yet.
Really?
So I know Mississippi State just got out.
I know they had the graduation up there. I think
Yes.
I think they probably got out.
They should. Ole Miss was out like last week. So colleges are different. So I don't know. I'd have to ask my friends over at U of A. If I still have any, I might be too old for it now. I don't have college friends anymore. It does. Life comes at you quick. But yeah, so this is the interaction right there that we're watching the most. And we can do a storm track on that as it moves closer to ECLA 171 and then on into, I'll say this goes north of Tuscaloosa. So U of A, I don't think will be affected. ECLA 548, Shirley 551, and Samantha 601. We can do, let's go ahead and do another storm track that kind of encompasses a few highlighted areas in that same stretch. So we're going to see Crossroads Church 546, Sardis Free Will Baptist Church 551, and Duns Creek Missionary Baptist Church 552. Of course, on into Tuscaloosa County by that point here as we enter into probably 5:50, 6 o'clock. Again, as Matt was saying, this is not going to be a threat that will be affecting our primary viewing area, but definitely still at that strength, still pretty strong moving into Tuscaloosa County. And remind me, what is the county north of Tuscaloosa County? Fayette? I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so there's Fayette right there.
Water park, that's where you would go this.
Over in Fayette?
Yeah.
Well, I'm perfectly down to check that out. Summer hitting, this muggy weather, that should have been the plans earlier this week. Yeah, so that S shape is still what we're watching, and you're getting some of those purples returning on reflectivity. So this is still a mature thunderstorm as it continues on the east side of Pickens County. I mean, still, I would say stronger than even what it was in Caledonia. I would not be surprised to see several outages for Reform, Palmetto, and people on the east side of the county, because those are strong returns right there. We don't have any MDOT cameras on that side of town, do we?
There's no
Or ADOT. LDOT. Is it LDOT?
Yeah,
So many. Oh, yeah, there we go. If you pinpoint a few of these exact locations high up in the atmosphere, you're getting anywhere from 65 to 70 mile an hour winds. This could be on the considerable side whenever we talk about damaging thunderstorms. So, okay, is it on 3?
Yeah.
All right.
It's starting to go up all throughout. I mean, we're not extreme level by any stretch, but we starting to get more and more of those power outages. These aren't exactly super highly populated areas, 148 there at that spot, 241 there, another 74, another 51. So, so far we show, I think this might be statewide out here, so 2,000 folks without power, and there are other spots throughout the state. But we're starting to get a pretty good cluster of outages here in Pickens County in particular with this line. So we want to see if we still have some, just like Pickens County as far as that shape, just kind of this section storm here, it's like most.
And I would say that number is about to subjectively speaking, spike here in the next couple of minutes because reform's not included in that, and it just went right over reform.
Yeah, so we will have a very good idea on the side of okay, go ahead.
Well, let's just continue to track this because this is continuing to be a damaging thunderstorm. And as we talked about, anywhere from 65 to 70 miles an hour. Whenever we get into 70 miles an hour, it's a considerable severe thunderstorm, meaning that there's considerable damage expected with that. So if this continues to remain at that strength, if you're in Mooresbridge, Eckler, know of anyone in that general area, Samantha, again, should stay north of Tuscaloosa. But if you know of anyone down around that area, let them know that this is headed their way. And what we've seen here in Mississippi, 4,000 outages in a concentrated area of East Lowndes County. It's just an idea of what to expect, and it's actually stronger than what it was when it was over here in Lowndes County, just over here in Mississippi. So there's a look at a few times. If you just want to screenshot that, let them know that this is headed their way. You can see several times listed in there. ECLA 545, Shirley 548. I did include Tuscaloosa on this. We're seeing about 606 here in the next 20, 25 minutes. So it kind of gives an idea. I do expect it to stay north of Tuscaloosa. It's a good thing. But yeah, damaging winds. It's going to cause a good bit of outages. Gordo probably got a couple of outages as well as you see those brighter returns happening right over the city down there. Yeah, I mean, it went right over the top. So no surprise there if there's a few outages there in Gordo, Reform, Eckler Road, Palmetto, probably same thing. And do we have any in Lamar County? Oh, I got you.
Okay, so children in it all. I mean, it's possible. But I'm very limited number of parts. Millport, you have a few,
Is Palmetto updated yet?
west of Palmetto, have west of Palmetto, probably with Palmetto address there.
I mean, look at, I don't know if you can look real quick. I mean, look at that.
Yeah, they'll end up upgrading that.
Man,
Being significant severe, so you have severe weather, and then you have next round of significant severe weather. Significant severe, on one where you want to be destructive. Or destructive. Winds.
oh, winds or hail. Look at me.
I vote.
Sometimes.
I was looking at PR over on three, that's kind of nice. Correlate that into the players.
Is it, I don't know if you have a second to look at the meso of the environment that it's entering into.
Better analysis.
Yes, like if it'll be,
Yeah.
we're still getting, I mean, in multiple locations. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's rock and roll, there's no question about that, but that's. The question is, it's gonna cross out of the area this time, right?
Yes.
Now, it's crossing, but it had.
It went up to 50. We tracked about 5-10 minutes ago.
There's gonna be a couple of places along the weekends there. I mean, I know we don't cover Tuscaloosa County, that's kind of out of our area. But in saying that, it wouldn't all be shocking. It's not right. Speaking to that point, I'll call Zach. I'm probably gonna shut down the screen, so we can leave our Facebook Live up, the other way. Well, let's get this out of here. Where's the idea? But I think the strongest third point is about to exit.
I would say that they just did.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's the strongest hit, but I'd say the damaging wind might be still straddling the house line. Anyway, all that to say, this could get between Tuscaloosa and Samantha, not impossible. It's a little argument on maybe something more than
Yeah, are you talking about that ECLA area?
Yeah. We talked about that.
Yeah, so this interaction right here, that S shape that we've been tracking, moving on the east side of ECLA right now, continues to look a bit more interesting. I'm trying to pull up, see if how National Weather Service is talking.
They mentioned just maybe I mean when just said like this happened when it was pretty significant one time. Not happened before.
Yeah.
Like I mean they're probably 7 miles. Not very necessarily cover. But certainly moving pretty quick.
Yeah, it's up to 75 now in isolated spots. And the thing is, I mean, this is what just went through Gordo, Zion, even Reform got about 50 to 60 mile an hour winds. So I know I've been mentioning it a couple times. Do you have the power outages updated? I just want to see if Gordo and Reform are reporting.
Yes, they are starting to. Let's bring on over.
On two?
Yeah. They don't go in.
Oh, I'm not seeing it on two.
Oh no, it's on three.
Three.
So because sporadic outages in the form, we show them how east of town as well. I don't know if I don't think they have a good power provider in the form. But they're either side of town. And the power outages are pretty consistent with this. So this is going to cause more power outages.
Unfortunately.
Fortunately, all the way. Yeah, I think it's really interesting when this goes to US 40.
Yeah, so that's talking about, because I know that several people, especially in that Pickens County area, know of people on the west side of Alabama. We're talking about Samantha, we're talking about Northport. Between those two cities, getting those brightest returns right now. And still, some of those returns, just look at ECLA over the top of them right now. I say a prayer for them because 79 mile an hour winds. Technically, if you're comparing it, that I know tornadoes are more of a concentrated area of rotation, but an EF0 tornado is 65 miles an hour. So we're talking low end tornado strength winds. So that's high up in the atmosphere, but that is translating to the surface as we saw in eastern Lowndes County. So it gives you an idea of what to expect over there. Give you guys a perspective here in Northeast Mississippi that are still tuned in on either stream. It was stronger. It's stronger now than what it was earlier. So this is definitely something to keep an eye on. So we look at that rotation. I just want to keep an eye on this to see if there is a possible tornado trying to form. I'm not seeing anything right now that is guaranteeing that it's happening, but we are for sure getting that S shape clear as day on the western Tuscaloosa County, eastern.
I think we're going to go ahead and shut down the stream on the gate.com. Keep that on Facebook going there.
Okay.
Shut down Facebook stream.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the live on the website. Go ahead.
All right, that'll work. So yeah, we're still streaming on Facebook, but the stream on the website, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, website is going to be down. So that's a good thing. It means that we're in the calm. But do keep in mind that there's we're in the calm.
But before we do that, let's. I'm gonna do a long range track here for just a second, just to kind of give this one because this one upstream there is moving about 60 miles per hour. It's still coming this way, and this is kind of the next round. So before we completely kick that off there, I want to just make sure we have that, and I will verify that angle here for a moment, make sure that angle is still good. It might not be quite far enough. There, let's do that. So that gives you kind of some times there. Oxford was showing right around 9:20, Grenada 9:30, Tupelo about 10 o'clock, Aberdeen about 10:30, Columbus about 11. Okay, I'll trade back. But I just wanted to get that on before the live stream cut off, just in case folks. Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason why is because this is our next threat. This is what models were a bit better on tracking what happened overnight. They were very inconsistent with what was happening, but this one definitely still something to keep an eye on. And you're seeing it over in western Arkansas with the severe thunderstorm warnings being issued, strong wind gusts, even a few large hailstones embedded within that. Those continue to be our primary threats heading into our Sunday. Currently, right now, since it's going to be happening after 6, 7 a.m., we're under that that next risk area, and that's a level 1 risk for Northeast Mississippi. You could argue that be on the it could be level 2 because of those storms happening tomorrow morning. But as of right now, level 1 just enough to say, hey, keep an eye on this because we are tracking strong storms moving into the area towards, unfortunately, your church time. So yeah, as we look at that, I just want to break down that timing yet again. And let me make sure this was changed. So yeah, it's changed to about 60 miles an hour, and we're talking Grenada about 9:30, and that's what models are depicting as well, 9:30 to 10 o'clock. So that's going to be as folks commute to, you have a second service. I know my church does second service. You're going to have a doozy of a commute, especially over in Grenada County. But as it moves more towards Lee County, if it is that far north, some models are having it further to the south, Golden Triangle area. But if it is up around Lee County, we're talking about 10 a.m., and that's going to result in an unfortunate commute for folks heading out the door. I'm not saying church services cancel at all points, but definitely be weary on your commute for some possible wind damage, especially if these storms have already moved through, especially if you're getting out of church once these storms have cleared. Because by 11 o'clock, Columbus moving out of the Lowndes County area, and then on into Pickens closer to about lunchtime. So it's our next threat we're watching. Definitely going to be a busy morning.
And I think we'll probably wrap this up as well, just because the next round is coming and we need to probably you need a little rest, buddy.
Get rejuvenated.
I do as well. Penny had a camp out last night.
How was it?
It was great, but we didn't get her home and to bed until like 1:15, 1:20. And I didn't get to bed until 2:30.
Penny with a
So
party.
I'm at about 1 hour. So
The Lobhons are
I'm
just
gonna
party
go ahead and
animals.
call it I'll be back.
Okay.
And you should as well, just to make sure that we are good. I know that that's moving closer to your home territory, and it's going to be hard to disengage.
Yeah, your
But
trainer will tune in.
But the next one, you have to be ready for the next one a little bit, or else you'll be tired. And then after that, you'll be even more tired by the one after that.
And
If
then there's another one after that.
there's no one after that. So we're gonna have to hand this one off.
Okay.
I think it's probably. Would you agree? I think it's
Yes.
Probably the.
I would say if you know of anyone in Tuscaloosa County, give them a call. This is up to considerable strength, meaning 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts. But for us here in Northeast Mississippi and our western counties in Alabama, we are good to head to bed. Unfortunately, a few power
Or
outages.
head to church because it's 6 a.m. So.
or, or if you want an hour or two before you head to church, hey, late service is a thing for some, and I've never seen it work out better than the circumstance right here.
Yeah. So, well, early services as well. I think we'll be doing the.
You head to early.
We're doing the
Yeah.
8:30 orchard and take a nap. Anyway, okay. We will see y'all later. Hopefully, all are good. I know we got a ton of power outages still out there.
Yes.
Might as well hit that one more time. Be patient with those power crews, just because it's it's a harder day for them than it is for you and I when we don't have power. I'm gonna pull up Fork County again because that number is still pretty significant. So I'll pull up both of those in just a moment here. Slow. So, I mean, there's all your Fork County outages that we were talking about a moment ago there. I mean, there's just a ton of them. It's going to flash as I kind of come in here. There we are. And certainly eastern Lowndes County, where we have the most significant number of those right now. That's a lot of outages. We referenced this a minute ago. Some up still in Marion County, Fork County we're looking at. And then here's the Alabama Power that Gabe was talking about a moment ago there. And just, I mean, box after box of power outage issues there. I know I'm going kind of fast all over the place, but the reality is that it's updating there because I don't have the screen on it. There we are. For whatever reason, it wasn't updating when I was on the other computer. Either way, lots of power outages showing up there. Okay, we're going to shut this down. We will be back. We might be back, depending on how this works, a little bit later on this morning. All right, we'll see you in a little bit.